Okay, so, all right, I couldn't decide what page to read, so we're just going to all see what fate decides for us. So here's the book. It's all tattered. I'm going to find it. I'm just going to open it to a random page, and I'm going to read it. So here we go. Historian, let's read this one. The Hidden Hand. Okay. I don't know what it says. We're all going to find out together. Only 300 men, each of whom knows all the others, govern the fate of Europe. They elect their successors from their entourage. These German have the blues with a J. I'm going to just call them blues. Have the means in their hands of putting an end to the form of any state which they find unreasonable. This late dictator of Germany declared, like Disraeli, that these 300 are not the visible rulers because the Tsar of Russia did not know these men. Thus, according to Rathenau, the Tsar was not among the persons who governed Europe, and thus the Tsar was not guilty of making the war. When these revelations of Rathenau began to be repeated, he suddenly died, as perish suddenly all who exposed the 300. Walter Rathenau's death was falsely attributed to the monarchists, but suddenly also the press stopped mentioning this mystery. Where we heard that before. We French, quote, we French believe that we know all about the forces of our planet, but we know nothing about the most terrific of them. These are in the hands of 7 men whose names our masses could not even rightly spell. These men, more powerful than Caesar or even Napoleon, rule the fate of the globe. These men rule the chiefs of states, control and subdue the governing personages, manipulate the exchanges, and incite or suppress revolutions. These 7 men are E. Rothschild V, his nephew Sassoon Rothschild, the heir presumptive to the world throne, et al. These blues form the Supreme Council of the Hidden Hand. Quote, we are 300 men, shouted the conspirators of the French Revolution when in 1770, a blue, J. Balsamo Cagliostro, the Rasputin of Queen Marie Antoinette, was adopted as their secret agent. Bro, they had an op in there. They had a handler near Frankfurt, this den of Rothschild. These and the 300 men of Rathenau were, quote, the learned elders of Zion. Since 1770, they have been led by a Rothschild. The phrase masters and men is altogether out of date. Indeed, I begin to question, who are these masters? Naively questioned Mr. J.H. Whitley, member of the House of Commons. Quote, nominally we govern ourselves. Actually, we are governed by an oligarchy of the American branch of the International Bankers' Plunder Fund. The British government is the camouflage behind which the money kings of the world have hitherto hid their economic warfare upon the masses of the world. That's Philip Francis, ex-editor of the New York American. In his post, the article, The Poison in America's Cup. Quote, whoever is in power in Downing Street, which is a British Foreign Office, whether conservatives, radicals, coalitionists, or pseudo-Bolsheviks, the international blue rules the roost. Here is the mystery of the hidden hand, of which there has been no intelligent explanation. The bluish New York Times of September 8, 1924, quotes the protest of the Zionist Executive Committee against settling blues in the countries, Mexico, over whose destiny they have no control. The same blues help settling blues in the U.S., which means they have control of its destiny.
Who and what is the Committee of 300? Well, I've dealt with that. I've told you this is a supranational body that knows no boundaries, respects the laws of no countries. The first time that they were publicly announced was by a German socialist by the name of Walter Rathenau. Now, I'll give you some background of Walter Rathenau. He was the financial advisor to the Kaiser of Germany, and he was also the financial advisor to the Rothschilds, the French family Rothschilds. So he must have known what he's talking about. He made an astonishing statement in 1934. He said, there is a committee of 300 men that rule the world. They are known only to each other, and nothing happens without their consent. The goals then, very simply stated, are to make the world over into a one world, new world order, dictatorship, controlled utterly and completely by this committee of 300. They do it by dint and by virtue of their fantastic wealth and the fact that they control thousands of the top banking institutions, the political organizations, insurance their strongest arm is called the Club of Rome. Now, when I first heard of the Club of Rome in 1969, I immediately began my investigation. And as Ken told you, all of my investigations have been done on location. Every one of them. The Club of Rome is one of the most insidious, baneful organizations in existence today, which has done intolerable, immeasurable harm to the United States of America. This Committee of 300 told a man called Aurelio Pecchi to form this Club of Rome with the main object of bringing down the industries and the agricultural development of the United States. He immediately wrote a paper in which he said there are too many people on the earth, and that the United States, with its industrial development, its agricultural development, is responsible for this curse of overpopulation. And he picked up the documentation for his work from Lord Bertrand Russell, a senior statesman of the Committee of 300. And Lord Bertrand Russell had written a work called The Impact of Science on Society. And if you can ever secure a copy of that book, which I doubt you'll be able to get, you will see in there that he said the world is grossly overpopulated and we have to get rid of at least half of the world's population, and it doesn't matter how we do it. So the Club of Rome was instituted and organized to start an attack on the world's population using the United States as the whipping boy. And they came up with a paper called the Zero Growth Post-Industrial Plan for Industry and Agriculture for the United States of America. 3 days after that plan was accepted as official United States policy by James Earl Carter, I was able to, through my intelligence people, get a copy of this insidious document. Basically what it said was that the middle class in the United States of America had to be destroyed, because in the coming push to a world order, the middle class would be the stumbling block, because history had shown that the peasant class in ancient days, when they had revolted, were just easily crushed. There was no resistance. But now had grown a new super class of people in the United States called the middle class, who had long-term employment, who had job security, who were well paid, who could afford to buy the products that were made by the United States and didn't need to buy products from China or anywhere else. And the Club of Rome post-industrial zero growth paper said this has got to stop. We have to bring down the middle class of the United States. And the way that we will do this, the way that we will accomplish this task, is by crushing their industries. The point I'm trying to make, ladies and gentlemen, is that the federal government, the secret upper-level parallel government that runs the United States, does not want you to know that you have an upper-level parallel government that calls the shots, that dictates what is going to happen to your life,